Welcome to Dallas Dirt. I'm so excited to welcome our first guest today, the beautiful Tam Pham, who is a general contractor and the founder of Toe Stiletto. Yep, that's the name of her company, and we're going to talk to you about how that all came to be. It's very exciting. Tam, welcome to the show. Isn't this great to have you here?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm super honored.
And thank you for the drive over. Speaking of drives, tell us a little bit about your very interesting journey into founding your company, which specializes in restoration and preservation of beautiful homes in Dallas, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Oh, I love it. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, and interestingly, I had a very long outside sales career with Fortune 40 companies, very different industries, but, very robust companies. And I learned quite a bit. But I was actually restoring homes on the side. And
it's a passion. I mean, if you do this on the side, it's something you're passionate about. Yes.
It truly is.
Yes.
I mean, it is a labor of love, and it is something I'm absolutely passionate about. I think at one point someone asked me, if you won the lottery, what would you do? And I was like, I would probably go to a kind of a declining neighborhood and buy as many homes as I could to restore them.
Yeah.
So more work, right? Not leisure, not sale around
no
the
sitting
world.
on the beach.
Well, I mean, I'd love to sit on the beach for some of that, but
seriously, you kind of love getting dirty. You like getting into it. Like, you are perfect for Candy's Dirt, because here you are, you Dallas Dirt, Candy's Dirt. You're getting dirty with all this stuff, because it's a messy process, correct?
It is.
Yes.
I mean, it is. I usually start with the worst of the worst, and houses that people have said are irreparable.
Yeah.
Or
that they want to tear down.
Right. Or that there's only one option to tear down. And I've proven over and over that I can take a shanty and turn it into a show house.
From a shanty to a show house. We have to have a headline like that.
Yeah, and some of them have been on home tours. Including one of the ones that I was going to show you some images on. But
tell us about this project. You said right before the show started, you said this is like the worst.
Oh, it was.
So why is it the worst? I mean, how old was the home? Was it like very old? Was it not cared for, not loved?
So it was an estate.
Okay.
And the heirs did not continue to make payments, and then the taxes continued to accrue. So it sat vacant for quite some time.
That's bad. Homes should never stay vacant.
Correct.
Yes.
I tell people all the time, homes need to be lived in, cars need to be driven, boats need to be driven, cleaned.
Homes are like pets. You've got to water them.
Yes.
Take care of them. Literally, you have to water the foundation. I mean, That's literally, you have to take care of them like pets.
Truly. Exactly. I mean, and it's an interesting, phenomena when you walk into a home that has been abandoned for quite some time. There's a distinctive smell, right?
Yeah.
And then once you open the doors and air it out, people are in there, then that disappears.
Right.
And it's, yes. I mean, there's a physical element to a home being lived in or being occupied.
How bad was bad?
Oh, so I've done some really pretty awful homes that have started in some, what's the word? I mean, just absolute,
like it just, I mean, was it in an area of beautiful homes and this one was just really rotting?
So it was actually within our historic district, Junius Heights.
Oh, I love it.
Yes. And it was on everyone's radar because it had been sitting vacant for so long, and it was in a serious level of deterioration.
And there's beautiful homes around there that everyone is restoring and keeping up. That's a prideful neighborhood. Junius Heights is. Yes, it's down. If you're not familiar with that, it's down in kind of southeast.
Yeah. East Dallas.
East Dallas.
Yes, kind of near Lakewood.
Yeah.
And kind of in between Lakewood and Baylor. If
right.
we're looking kind of general.
And what era are the homes from down there? The 20s?
No, actually, early 10s.
Early 10s?
So
Better.
yes, and so this particular home again was on everybody's radar because it's fallen into disrepair, and it was then on the city Office of Preservation's radar. So the person who purchased it probably did not do their due diligence because they didn't realize they bought in a historic neighborhood. They were wanting to tear it down.
Tear it down and build a new.
Yes.
A stucco box. Oops. Did I say that?
A McBox.
A McBox, right.
So unfortunately, it took quite a while, and the city did have to take action on this particular home, which is, it usually does not get to a point where the city attorney's office gets involved.
That's pretty bad.
It's very bad. And the receiver in this particular situation hired me to do the restoration.
So they brought you in to save the house.
Correct.
I love it.
Yes. And it was hard work. I mean, this took the longest that I've ever had to do on a restoration of that scale. I mean, I've done plenty of ground up, everything from the foundation all the way up to the roof, right? So, and that's kind of my MO, but this one was in very bad shape. There was, squatters had been in there.
Of course, they come in. They come into these homes when they're neglected and they're empty.
Yeah.
Same thing happened to one of my old homes. A squatter lived in there for a few weeks, and the owner told me, and I was so shocked. He lived in the laundry room apparently, which I had added on. So you're kind of like both a house whisperer and a house saver. What was, when you first walked into that house, what went through your head?
Well, probably a few expletives. But I mean, it was just like, oh, wow, this is really bad. Because all the windows had been boarded up, and
well, at least you get new windows, right?
Well, it's a historic district, and it did actually have most of its original windows behind the plywood that was, covering up all the holes. But they were in very bad shape, and so we literally tore off an addition that somebody had scabbed on long ago.
The remodeling, I hate that, where they just throw crap up there.
It's not even remodeling. It's like DIY. We can,
we can do this in 2 days.
Yeah. It was not. Yes. I mean, it was sitting on the ground. There was no foundation. So it was very structurally unsound, and it was completely dark. There were holes in the floor. I mean,
Were there wood floors?
There were, but the roof had been leaking for probably a decade. So, most of that was.
Were there termites?
At one point there was, but when we got there, I think that it had been treated. Okay. So we did have to replace some of the wood that was completely eaten through.
You've got me so excited to see this project now. And I think our readers are going to love it too. So what did you see that you thought could be saved? I mean, moldings or ceiling height or something that you said, oh my God, we will save this.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think every old home really deserves to be saved.
Exactly.
And, I feel like it's been standing for over 100 years. And I think with a little TLC, it can stand for another 100 years.
Absolutely.
So for me, people ask that question all the time. It's like, what did you see in that property, or how did you get it to this place? But for me, I always see that property in its highest and best view.
Because you have vision.
Well,
you have the vision. What would you tell a couple who's looking at a home and they're kind of trying to decide, oh my gosh, should we renovate it? I've got one. In fact, I'm going to invite you to the event there tomorrow night with Preservation Dallas. Should I renovate it or should I just tear it down? Because so many builders will say, oh my God, just tear it down. It's going to cost more. It's going to be so much more work. What would you tell them?
I mean, it's my personal opinion, built over years of doing this, that I think it's better to rehab a home and add to it because, one, it's going to match or really have it'll blend into that street.
The neighborhood.
The neighborhood.
Mhm.
When you have a block face that has a few small homes and some very modern large homes, it actually isn't.
It's startling.
It's startling, and it's
Yeah.
not great for the home values over time in that
Mhm.
in the neighborhood.
'Cause I just wonder what these white boxes are going to look like in 10 or 20 years. I mean, I'm going to be running around with my camera in the future going, "Oh, we told you so."
Yes.
Yes.
Well, and yes, white is very hard to keep clean. It looks really crisp at the very beginning.
Then give it a year or two,
It's
and the elements.
mud when you're having to hose off the mud off of the side of the
The pecans, they stain my pool, they stain my patio. What do they do to that, that stucco? I can imagine. But
I do think that the value is retained if you can keep the original facade of the home and really make it look as if it had always been there, right?
Right.
And I think that from my experience, people, I think, see more value per square foot over time on something that they've remodeled versus something that was torn down and built new.
Exactly.
So-
I love one of my favorite stories of all the writing that we've done for CandysDirt. I think I've written like 5,000 posts now or something. Almost like I can't believe it. Is a home, mid-century modern home in Preston Hollow, where only two families ever lived in that home, and the realtor got them together and filmed the families meeting and touring the home and talking about, oh, we used to play here. And did you guys know there was a hiding place there? Oh, yeah, but did you know there was a hiding place there? And the home has been maintained and is being remodeled. And I'm so excited. I hope we get to do a story on that someday. But I think that Dallas is starting to appreciate its history and its historical homes too.
I think so.
Don't you think so?
I do. I feel like there's certain groups that have been resistant to keeping buildings intact.
Yes.
And I think those areas are starting to get some momentum with groups that are interested in preserving.
Right.
So I do see I think I see a turn in that direction.
Yeah. Well, so one thing I was going to ask you too is that which type of home are you seeing more likely to be preserved? Is it the mid-century modern from the 50s, or is it the 1920s, 30s, kind of going back to the what do you call those styles in the 20s and 30s?
That would be Tudor.
The Tudors in the prairie home.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Craftsman would have been early 19s to late.
And why do they call it Craftsman?
It's because it was actually a clean style, and it was really built from a simplification of materials. And there really was a craft that was built in there. So it was a change.
Craftsman actually created it. You are so smart. This woman knows everything. So tell us again what you think the future is going to be in remodeling and doing what you're doing with Steel Toe Stiletto, which is a great name, by the way. Can you imagine that? And why is it called Steel Toe Stiletto? let me hear this one.
All right, we may have to censor some of this.
Oh. No, never.
When I was working on my first home, which was my personal home, I was working corporate, had never done any kind of remodeling, and I was looking for a cosmetic redo, and it was in that hot market of 06, 07, and it was on fire, and I was trying to get something maybe in the M streets, cosmetic, paint a little bit, do a little bit of minimal things. And what I ended up not getting were any of those houses because everybody was clamoring over them. I mean, they were being like 12, 15 offers, everybody over asking, and still having
It's like last summer. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was really, I mean, I was like, yep, here it is again. It happened. But so I do think that, so getting back to the Steel Stiletto.
You had to kick some people in the shins.
I did.
Yeah,
I was working on the, yes, I saw one of my subs out there, and he's throwing up some lumber on the wall, and I look at it. I'm like, that certainly does not look level. And I was like, hey, can you come here and take a look? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, does that look level to you? Does that look derecho? And he's just like, no. And I was just like, do you have a level? He's like, yeah. I was like, where is it?
Can you use it?
I was like, he's like, it's in the truck. And I was just like, don't make me stick my stiletto up your butt. Go get that level and take that whole wall down and start over. So when I recant,
I love you. I love you.
So when my friend was asking me how it was going, I told her, I said, well, she said, how's it going? And I was like, well, man, if I didn't have to threaten to stick my stiletto up everybody's butt every other day. And she was like, steel toe stiletto, kicking butt and taking names. And I was like, oh, there it is. That's time.
That's the name. And you can certainly read more about Tam's work on Candy's Dirt as we're going forward. I am just dying to write the story, the before and after of your home. It's great. I so appreciate you coming today. I so appreciate everyone out there for watching and paying attention and being interested in homes and preservation, because I'm obsessed. And stay tuned, because we're going to have more Dallas Dirt.
That does it for this episode of Dallas Dirt. Join us the next time as we dig into DFW's hottest real estate news with host Candy Evans. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube to receive every new episode. And if you like the episode, give it 5 stars and tell a friend. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you the next time. This episode was recorded at the Real News Communications Network studios in Dallas and is copyrighted by Dallas Dirt.